Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome to another episode of This Days Between Us. Where have I been? Well, I've been a bit snowed under with flashcards, revision, equations, the usual, and I have been commuting back and forth to uni and back home, and back to uni again. So it's been a bit difficult to manage time, but alhamdulillah, within these quiet evening hours of the Sunday before uni starts again, I am here about to record another episode just for you. This episode is called Tea and Paper Cranes, and for a while you guys have been asking me, pestering me almost, for an episode on heartbreak. Zarin, spill the tea on heartbreak. Tell us about a boy. No, there was never one. There's never one to tell you about. So instead, the heartbreak that I will be focusing on is the heartbreak of the self. The heartbreak of the self, which I've defined as the heartbreak that comes from not being able to see yourself or to see your self-worth. And I'll be interspersing moments where you can journal and take time to reflect on your own journey with your self-worth. I always think it's very rewarding to look back on. You can see how far you've come, you can see the thoughts you used to have and the thoughts you have now, and how there's a change, a positive change, hopefully in the right direction. And if there are still some negative thoughts simmering in between, we can work through that too. Gently, slowly, and find a way to make them more conducive to your well-being and constructive for your growth. So, tea and paper cranes. Let's begin. Just as a warning, in this episode I will be going into details about what it's like experiencing racism in primary school and Islamophobia in primary school as well. And so if that is something that you find almost triggering or just not comfortable, please take time and think carefully about whether this is something you want to listen to, because I am going to be exploring it, and if it makes you uncomfortable, then maybe this is not the episode for you. So yeah, I just put that warning out there because I know that sometimes when a podcaster talks about something and it's you weren't ready for it, you weren't warned, I completely understand that, and hence I want to let you know beforehand that I will be talking about racism and Islamophobia, and these are very deep, heavy topics, and if you feel distressed by any of it, I will be dropping resources down below that you can check out. I know it's not always the same as having someone to sit with you and talk through it, but I hope these resources are helpful with whatever you're going through and help you to find some peace, some inner peace, so that you don't feel really triggered anymore. Okay, so I'm ready to go into it. If I could go back to the moment where I initially recognized my self-worth and that I matter, it would have to be year 6. As the only hijabi and the only brown girl in my primary school, I was always taught that I'm not pretty and I never will be. I believed it, I swallowed it, and it was not something that I found easy to swallow. I remember in year 6, we had music lessons. We were sitting in a circle and there was a fly in the classroom. This girl sat next to me, pointed at the fly and said, "It's black, just like you." I stayed quiet and smiled, pretending that her joke was funny, when it wasn't funny, and I felt very hurt. Because this was a girl who could tell the difference between the colours brown and black when it came to handbags, when it came to hair dye, but not when it came to my skin colour. And I, trying to be the good Muslim kid who doesn't cause a fuss, the model minority, stayed quiet and tolerated the experience. So journal prompt number 1 is going to be, have there ever been moments where you've stayed quiet or someone has almost oppressed you with their words? Think deeply. Think as deeply as you would like. And take some time to write down about how it's impacted you. And maybe you might not know the answer yet as to how it has impacted you, but you will figure it out. The more you write, you will end up figuring out a clearer idea of how this has followed you through your adult years. See, I wish the racism ended there. I wish it ended in that music room. But it actually followed me into the playground. I was walking on the grass one break time, and there was this girl in my class. I smiled at her. She looked at me funny and called me something very horrible, and then walked away. I won't repeat what she had said because it is a racial slur, and it's the kind of thing you don't want to hear someone say because it's really upsetting and it's really discriminatory. And I had never spoken to this girl before, and those were her first words. This is a different girl, by the way, to the one from the music room. And while I can understand that since the area my primary school was in was predominantly white, so people were not accustomed to seeing someone of colour, I still couldn't make sense of the hostile racism. I'd come home really moody, really angry, and I'd just locked myself in my room. And if I look back at it now, I realise that I was angry because I never said anything while this was going on. I would always stay quiet or laugh it off. If someone was racist to me, I'd smile, I'd laugh, I'd pretend they were funny. But then at home, I'd get really angry. And that was the anger that was in my heart for them, but I let it out at home. And that's not a healthy cycle. And I'd get into really bad arguments with my parents, because I'd beg them to buy me makeup so I could look more light-skinned and maybe get treated a bit more nicely. They did not quite understand what I was going through, but they knew I wasn't doing okay. And this would manifest in some really awful ways. Think back to your younger self for journal prompt number 2. What would you say to your younger self for the things you had to go through but couldn't make sense of? For example, as I look back at my year 6 self, I would tell her not to berate herself for the emotions she's going through. She's not crazy for feeling upset because someone was racist to her. She's perfectly human for feeling upset about it. These are the kind of things I would tell my younger self. What would you tell yours? The words and the bullying did not seem to end. And I love words. I like to read. I love books. I like to write. But I also have a very sharp memory where I remember the horrible words people have said, word for word. For example, this one girl in the classroom, she said to me, "If you're prettier, you'd be more dateable." We were 11-year-old girls at the time. I don't know why she would say something like that. I don't know where it came into her head that I was interested in that. But it came out of her mouth and it got stuck inside my brain. Things would escalate further. There were elements of Islamophobia. I once got asked, "Do you have hair under your hijab?" And usually people say that as a joke, but I really don't like that one at all. I think as a hijabi, that's one of my least favourite questions, because it's almost assuming that I'm not like you. And in a sense, I'm not like you because my values are different and your values are different. My faith is different, your faith is different. But at the same time, to really alienate me under this form of a joke, I didn't find it appropriate, but I also didn't say it. I didn't also say that I was uncomfortable. I suppose what was really the last straw for me was this time when we were in the classroom, and while we were doing English literature, this boy with glasses sat down and said to me, "Hey, I'm surprised you can speak English really well. I didn't expect that." And at 11 years old, I was smart enough to realise that's not a compliment. That was this boy's way of saying that he assumed from my skin colour and my hijab that I can't speak English properly. He stereotyped me in a harmful way and deliberately assumed that I could not speak properly, that I did not have a grasp of the language of the country I was born in. For journal prompt number 3, I want you to think about a time in which you've been stereotyped. And this is a very irksome one. It can rile up a lot of emotions that have been buried beneath. Because being stereotyped is uncomfortable. Because you know yourself. You know what you are, your interests, what you stand for, your values, the way you show up. And this person who stereotyped you does not know a thing about you, but only goes by patterns of what they think people who look like you are like. And we've seen from the media how harmful stereotyping is. So for journal prompt number 3, take some time to explore moments where you have been stereotyped. And you can pause the podcast if you would like to take some more deep time to explore what it means to be stereotyped. After what that boy said to me, I used the tactic that so many victims of racism use. I laughed it off. I pretended that his words did not bruise me at all. Rather, they were like air, and I exhaled them out of me. You see, the things you are told as a child, they follow you. I'm 21. I'm an adult. It's been 10 years, but I still feel the echo. And while wounds heal, sometimes memories don't. They still come back to haunt you. The bullying, the comments about my skin colour, they did something to me. Something dangerous. I visibly remember wanting to lighten my skin and Googling how to make my skin lighter. Because I thought that being less brown meant being more beautiful. Because I thought that the more I rubbed my skin with lemon juice and honey, it would brighten and I would be seen as worthy. Journal prompt number 4. Have you ever felt like that? Have you ever felt like you have to change something about you just so no one's gonna bully you or tease you or make you feel like you're less? I'm talking to the South Asian girl who comes into school, maybe with a bit of oil in her hair, and her classmates' teeth asking, "Why is your hair greasy?" When oiling your hair is a beautiful practice. I'm talking to the girl who brought chopsticks with her to lunch and got bullied over that. I'm talking to the girl who wore her cultural outfit to school one non-uniform day and got teased by these white kids or these other kids of other races who decided to be racist because I don't know why. I don't understand why people are racist. I'm talking to the boy who came into school one day with his lunch, and his lunch was his home-cooked food from his mother, and the kids in his class bullied him. I'm talking to all of us, in a way, who have been made to feel like we're not enough, and that our cultures are disgusting, and we should leave them at home. I pray no one ever has to go through that. Through this process where you are taught to hate yourself because of your skin colour, and seek validation through conforming to society's standards of what you should be. Now, after hearing parts of my story, you're probably wondering, Zyron, why couldn't you, as a child, accept yourself as you are? When you were a child, why couldn't you just love yourself? Why couldn't you just accept yourself? But the truth is, I didn't even know what self-acceptance looked like, and my relationship with the hijab deteriorated. In year 6, I started taking it off. In my view, I felt that when I took it off and braided my hair really prettily underneath, the world would smile at me, and I mistook that smile for love, 'cause I just wanted to be pretty, and I just wanted to feel seen. Journal prompt number 5. Tell me, or write it down, you don't have to tell me if you don't want to, about a time where you felt seen, where you felt appreciated, where you've felt beautiful from the inside and out. It could be a time where your mother tells you, you look nice in that outfit. Or it could be a time where one of your friends tells you, hey, that jacket suits you. Think about that time. Think about the happiness you felt. And really zoom in on that and what made it a happy moment. And why it really mattered to you. Because we all want to feel seen. We all want to feel understood and not like we have to hide the parts of ourselves. Now, what helped me heal, even a little, were books. I remember reading Angel Cake by Kathy Cassidy. It's about a Polish girl who gets called ugly by the popular girls. But she wasn't even ugly. She was actually really pretty and I loved her character. There was something about that story that made me feel less alone, that made me feel seen and understood. For those of you who don't know, in Angel Cake, the girl gets mistreated because she's Polish, because she's the new girl, because she has her own family traditions. Like at Christmas, she leaves her shoes out and in the morning, her parents put sweets inside. That's another thing. And actually, in the book, her shoes get robbed. Yeah, that's a really sad part of that book. But I remember this book so vividly, and I love Kathy Cassidy's writing. I think she's definitely influenced me as a writer. And it was also through I can't speak English. It was also through Kathy Cassidy that I learnt how to make paper cranes. And later that year, we went on a school trip to Coventry Cathedral, and they were making paper cranes there too. Now, the lady in charge of that stall, she asked my class, "Does anyone know the story behind the paper crane?" And no one in my class put their hand up except me. She smiled, told me that I was a smart girl because I knew the history of a paper crane. And that was the first time I felt seen, not for how I looked, but for what I knew, and for what I carried inside me. Sometimes, it only takes one person to change the way you see yourself. Being seen as good, as smart, as enough through someone else's eyes can be the seed that grows into your own belief in yourself. 'Cause here's the truth. No one knows you more intimately than you do. No one else knows your flaws more than you do. No one knows your insecurities the way you do. And that's exactly why you judge yourself the harshest. Judgment, self-worth, they really do shape the way you see yourself, but also the way you show up in friendships and in love. And my friends, that's where the story begins again, with tea, a guy, and paper cranes. That was the end of episode 1. Episode 1? Part 1 of episode 6, Tea and Paper Cranes. That was the end of part 1. I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope you really gained a lot from the journaling prompts. And yeah, I just want to end by saying, Alhamdulillah, my past experiences with racism and Islamophobia have not broken me. It's only made me stronger in my faith and more embedded in my identity. I vowed that if I were to ever live in a new city where I was both the ethnic and religious minority, hell no, I would not conform. I would not lighten my skin to fit in. I would not take off my hijab to be seen as lovable and pretty. I'd be myself, in full, bright colours. I'd say Alhamdulillah and Inshallah in my sentences, because hey, that's just the Muslim girl in me, and I like doing that. I would not hide my faith in the shadows, but I would let it glow from within me. I'd let it glow. I would not hide. And 10 years after my primary school experiences, I was actually given the opportunity to move and work in a different city. Where? And in where, I was the ethnic and religious minority, once again. But my promise to myself was very strong. I would not hide the parts of myself that I value and love, just so others accept me. I would not hide in the shadows. I would be myself, even if others did not like me. Even if people asked, why did I wear a hijab? In a way that wasn't for learning about me, but for interrogating me, for inspecting me. Even if people said things that were horrible, I wasn't going to change. I was going to always, always stay as me. I guess my final journaling prompt for you will be, what is a promise you're going to keep for yourself? What is your promise to yourself? After listening to this episode about how my journey with self-worth has changed and shifted multiple times, I wonder what you have found by reflecting on yours. This was part 1 of Tea and Paper Cranes. Before you leave, I would love for you to comment below what your promise is to yourself. What are you going to promise yourself in future as a guiding light, a North Star if you will, for every moment you take and for every experience you will have, what will be your North Star? What will be your promise to yourself? Part 2 coming out soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I really hope this episode resonated with you and you feel this passionate sense of conviction in your self-identity, and that you learn to really appreciate how far you've come, the battles you've gone through that no one saw, and the way you've showed up once again. This time stronger, this time louder, this time more ready than ever. Part 2 to be out soon. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. See you for another episode.